This is the Creative Market Free Goods Roundup the week of September 15th, 2014. There are 6 different free goods this week, but they are free this week only. So if you think you'll have use for them, be sure to check out the description of this video where I'll place links to each one of them. And also this week there is a contest going on for the use of these free goods. Basically it's to make a design using the different free goods that are available this week. And I'll place a link in the description to the blog post about this and I'll also explain more about it later. But let's just jump into the goods right now and start at the top here with Autumn Pack. This pack has 12 different JPEG images, and if I go to image and then image size, you can tell there's 6,000 by 4,000 pixels, which is nice and big enough for most projects to throw them at. And all the actual images are of various fall settings, and there's 12 of them, so I'm going to go through all these. This first image is a cool image of a mushroom right there. The second one, we have a really nice lake setting with all the leaves on the ground, the really nice autumn coloration. I actually really like this image. It's a very cool capture of some flowers growing up out of some leaves. And this is a very similar image, but they've actually punched up the contrast a little bit. The purple on these flowers looks really good, almost translucent. And here's an image of some leaves on the ground. This would work really great for a background image if you want to fade this out a little bit and place a design over the top. I think it would work quite nice. And here's another one that would work really well. If you had a nice design going over this, this is a nice background element to give some life to whatever you're working on. Here's another great background image of some trees that are in the fall season, so they have that really cool coloration going on. And this is a super cool image. I'm not sure if this is like sunset or sunrise, but the colors on this back hill and the way they pop versus what's in the foreground here is really crazy. I quite like this one. This is a nice capture of a river going through some perhaps farmland or countryside. Once again, this would work really great with the design placed over the top. Maybe fade this out just a little bit or desaturate it just a tiny bit. Here's a great image of some mountains with a little bit of snow on the top there. I'm not sure if this image was taken from a helicopter or something similar, but it's a very cool aerial view of a fall-time mountain landscape. And once again, I'm not sure if this was taken from a helicopter or something similar, but it has a really great vantage point, nice hilly landscape, and the really cool fall coloration going on with these trees in the background. So there's 12 different images, they're really high quality, and once again, I think these would work really great with the design placed over the top to kind of give whatever it is you're working on, that design or illustration, a little bit more life. So if you think you'll have use for these, definitely check it out. And next we have vector buildings. The included file formats are EPS, JPEG, and PNG, and there's 12 separate files in each one of these. And I'm going to go through each one of them in Illustrator since that's a really easy way to check them out. And it's a really fun illustration style with a bunch of different types of buildings, so I'm going to go through these and kind of take a look at them all. As you can tell, a lot of the color choices are very fall or autumn in appearance, and it's really well executed. If I zoom in on these actual buildings, they have a really neat handmade style to them. So I definitely think that this entire pack works really well together, all these 12 different files. So if you want to mix and match elements from each one of these different pages, I would highly recommend doing that. This one kind of reminds me of oftentimes you'll see a globe in the center here with all these buildings around. Once again, that same fun illustration style going on. And this one is actually a pattern, so if I were to actually check out my swatches, and you can go to Window and then Swatches and make sure that's checked to get this. Here's a little swatch on my screen. If I were to draw a shape right here, you can tell that it makes a custom swatch of this pattern, so that's super useful. And there's a few different files in here that are like that, and that applies to custom shapes as well. So if you want to do a star or whatever shape you have in mind, it'll work just fine. This one is also a swatch pattern, and once again, a really, really nice looking fall coloration on this one. So if I go to this star, draw a nice big star here, and hit this swatch to apply it, you can tell it does a great job. I think you'll get a whole lot of versatility out of these patterns since they look really great in almost any shape you throw them in. Here's another one. This is also a pattern just like the other ones before, a little bit different coloration. And the color on this file is definitely really fun. If I zoom in so we can kind of take a look here, there's really nice bright popping colors. Definitely some great choices being made in the actual color interaction. These all work really well together, so definitely take note of the different colors used in this one and apply it to other work as well. There were definitely some really smart color choices in this particular file. And this one has some pre-made elements for you. I could see photos in these circular or rectangular sections right here. And this file on the side and this one on the bottom would make really cool note cards or little stationary elements. I think these look pretty fantastic. On this page we have some more buildings. These are a little bit more simplified than the other ones, but really nice coloration in them, and the actual style works really consistently throughout them all. Here's another circular element with these buildings around it. I think a photo or something similar would work really great in the center section. And here's another pattern, but this one has a little bit different coloration than the other ones. The color choices in this are really cool, and all these elements work really well together, just like the other ones. And if you actually want to use this for just the elements and not the entire pattern, you can right click and just ungroup. And then you can go ahead and move these different elements and create a custom scene for yourself for whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And here's the last page. Another custom pattern, and once again, remember, you can make any kind of shape you want with these. If I go with the pen tool, and I'm just going to draw a really crazy shape really quickly here, and apply this swatch pattern, you can tell it's really fast and easy to do, and the actual pattern looks really good. It's nice and seamless, so hopefully you'll get a whole lot of use out of this pack. And if you think you'll have use for this pack, I would definitely recommend checking it out. And next up is Watercolor Leaves. This is one of my favorite offerings this week, and this is 20 different watercolor leaves, and they're provided in individual PNG files, but I made them all in this one file to make it easier to kind of show what they look like. And as you can see, they're both handmade and extremely consistent in their appearance, so these work really great if you want to make custom arrangements out of these elements. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more here so we can kind of take a look, and I'm at 100% right now. So you can tell the actual execution of the watercolor looks really great. You can actually even see on some of these the pencil drawing behind it that they must have watercolored over. And the colors chosen work both really great for the individual elements here as well as overall the entire pack. If you look at it as a whole, you can tell that these will all work really well next to each other. So I'm just going to zoom back in here and take a closer look at these once again to see all the different elements included. Each individual element looks really great on its own or combined. Really nice subtle gradations of color in these, like this particular leaf. You can tell that it goes from this pinkish color into a little bit more autumny orange. So this is definitely a really strong pack. And I think if you like arranging stuff, if you like combining stuff together and kind of making custom compositions out of given elements, then you'll have a really fun time with this particular pack. And once again, this is probably one of my favorites this week. This is just a really great way to add a fun handmade vibe to whatever illustration or design you happen to be working on. So I definitely recommend that you check this one out and play around with it a bit. And these bottom 3 goods are free on Facebook, so to get them, just hit this free on Facebook button and like Creative Market. And once you do that, the download link will appear. It's super fast and easy to do. So we're going to start on the left here with 25 vintage hand-drawn antlers. And as the name of the product suggests, there are 25 different handmade antlers in this pack. And if you've ever tried to draw 25 of the same thing in different ways, you probably know that can be really hard to do well. So they did a really good job in making all these quite a bit different from each other and adding quite a bit of variety to this pack. So I'm just going to zoom in here so we can take a little bit closer look at the different antlers offered. And they range from being pretty smooth to much more rough and bumpy in the appearance, like this one right here. So this pack definitely has quite a few different antlers to choose from. And once again, I really like the amount of variety throughout all these antlers. They all look quite a bit different than each other. So hopefully, no matter what your design looks like, you can find a pair of antlers that suits the style that you're trying to go for, whether it's really thick and bold like this one right over here to something much thinner, or just overall lightweight like these antlers down at the bottom. So it's definitely a really strong pack, and with them being vector, you can resize them as big or as small as you want without losing quality. And they did include a PNG as well as a PDF, so even if you don't have Illustrator, you can still get some use out of these. So if you think you will have use for these, definitely check this pack out. I think the overall execution of it was really good. Next up is Birch Family typeface. These fonts are provided in both open type and true type font format, and there's 5 different weights here, which for a free font offering is always really cool to see, as it's not all that common. So you have Birch Regular, Birch Bold, Birch Hand Drawn, Birch Inline, as well as Birch Vintage. So I'm going to zoom in on these so we can get a little bit better look. And as you can tell with these, this is the uppercase right here. So the uppercase is a little bit larger, and then the lowercase is a little bit smaller. So if I were to type up Free Goods Roundup alternating from the uppercase to the actual lowercase here, you can tell there's a nice slight variation between the uppercase as well as the lowercase letters. So Birch Regular to Birch Bold is obviously a little bit thicker. Birch Hand Drawn actually has a very cool texture inside of it, as well as making the edges a little bit more inconsistent, a little bit more wavy to give that hand-drawn appearance. Birch Inline has an inset white center like you see right here, and Birch Vintage might be my favorite of the bunch. Once again, a very cool texture inside and very subtle wavy borders along the actual letters here to give it that kind of roughened, well-aged look, which I think would work great for a ton of different designs. So definitely a very cool pack with 5 different font styles to choose from, and I especially love the hand-drawn and vintage variations. They have a very cool texture inside, and I think they'll work really great on any design that has either a well-worn look to them, a vintage vibe, or just that overall handmade feel that you want the font to also reflect. So a very cool pack, and I would definitely recommend picking this one up if you think you'll have use for it. And last we have Wood Texture Pack. This file includes 15 different wood textures in TIFF format. Since there's so many of them, I'm going to quickly scan through them here so we can get a look at all of them. And the actual file size of all these is really nice and big. So if I went to image and then image size here, you can tell that it's about 7700 by 5200 pixels. So it should be big enough for almost anything you want to throw them at. And they are in bitmap format. So if you want to go ahead and convert these to a different color mode, you can go to image, mode, and then grayscale and just hit OK. And then image, mode, and then you can select either RGB or CMYK depending on what you're trying to achieve to convert it to that color space. So these definitely look really great. They're nice and high quality. If you zoom in, you can tell that when you get really close to these, since they are bitmap, there is that dithering going on that's typical with a bitmap image. But when you're zoomed out here, you can tell they hold a really nice appearance of wood boards of various types. So this is definitely a very strong pack with a really huge selection of different types of things to work with. Textures like this tend to work really great either applied over a design or as well as in the background of a design. So you should get a ton of versatility out of this pack. And once again, these files are really huge, so they should be big enough for almost any project that you happen to throw them at. So a great selection of versatile textures here, all with the wood theme. But as you can see, the overall appearance of these wood textures, like you almost can't tell this is wood, but it's a fantastic overall result. So definitely check this pack out and play around with them. And I would really recommend applying these over designs, kind of like the examples in the actual product page of this product, because you can have a lot of fun doing that. And it adds a pretty unique look to whatever design or illustration you apply them to. So that's it for this week's free goods, and remember they are free this week only, so be sure to check out the description if you want to download any of them. And now the contest, there's actually a blog post for the contest, which I will link in the actual video, but you can see the blog post right here. And on that blog post it explains how to enter, and basically you just have to make a design using the various free resources from this week's items. And there are prizes, so if you check out the prizes here, there's a $100 Creative Market credit as well as $100 in Moolah, and Moo.com is a place where you can print stuff as the grand prize. Second place is $50 in Creative Market credits and $50 in Moolah from Moo.com. And third place is $25 in Creative Market credits and $25 in Moolah from Moo.com. So if you want to make some stuff and possibly win some cool prizes, that's something you can do this week as well. So definitely check out the blog post linked in the description if that looks like something you might be interested in. And as always, if you like these videos, please like and favorite. And if you want to see this video every week, please subscribe. This video is released every Monday to let you know what's new and free at Creative Market. Thanks for watching.